Diego Morales was the kind of CEO who noticed details. At 42, he'd built Soltech, a mid-sized software company in Miami, from a startup in his garage to a firm with 200 employees and clients across Latin America and Europe. He prided himself on knowing every employee's name, their role, and at least one personal detail, like how Sandra in accounting loved marathon running or how Javier in IT collected vintage vinyl. But Maria Elena Vargas, the office cleaner, was a mystery. She'd been with Soltech for 3 years, always arriving at 5 p.m., her cleaning cart rattling down the halls, her presence quiet but steady. Diego knew her name and that she was from somewhere in Central America, but that was it. Until the day he overheard her on her break. It was a Thursday evening in March 2025. Diego had stayed late, reviewing a pitch for a new client in Germany. The office was mostly empty, the hum of computers replaced by the faint sound of a vacuum cleaner down the hall. As he stepped out of his office to grab a coffee from the break room, he heard voices. Not unusual, cleaning staff often worked in pairs. But what stopped him was the cadence of the conversation. It wasn't just Spanish, the language he'd assumed Maria spoke. It was something else, then another language and another, flowing effortlessly. Diego paused outside the break room door. Maria was on her phone, speaking rapidly. Sí, claro, puedo ayudar con eso, she said in Spanish, her voice warm but professional. Then, without missing a beat, she switched to English. I'll send you the details tomorrow, no problem. A moment later, she was speaking what sounded like French, her tone just as confident. Je peux vérifier les documents pour vous. Diego's curiosity deepened. He wasn't fluent in French, but he recognized it from business trips to Paris. Then came another shift, German, unmistakable with its sharp consonants. Ich word es bis Montag fertig haben. Diego's jaw tightened. He knew enough German to understand she was promising to finish something by Monday. He stood frozen, not wanting to interrupt, but unable to walk away. Maria's voice shifted again, this time to Portuguese. Não se preocupe, está tudo sob controle. Then Italian. Posso organizar una chiamata per domani. And then Russian? Diego's mind raced. He counted the languages: Spanish, English, French, German, Portuguese, Italian, Russian. That was 7. He leaned closer, careful not to make a sound. Maria laughed, switching to what sounded like Mandarin. And finally, Arabic. 9 languages. 9 distinct, fluent languages, spoken by the woman who cleaned his office every evening. Diego stepped back, his coffee forgotten. He wasn't eavesdropping to be nosy. He was simply stunned. Maria, the cleaner who polished desks and emptied trash cans, was speaking languages with the ease of a seasoned diplomat. He returned to his office, his mind buzzing with questions. Who was she? Why was she working as a cleaner? And how had someone with this kind of skill gone unnoticed in his company? The next day, Diego couldn't shake the discovery. He called his HR manager, Carla Reyes, into his office. Tell me about Maria Vargas, he said, keeping his tone neutral. Carla pulled up Maria's file on her tablet. Maria Elena Vargas, 38, hired 3 years ago as part of the evening cleaning crew. Reliable, no complaints, always on time. Her application says she's from Guatemala, moved to the U.S. 10 years ago. No higher education listed, just a high school diploma from Guatemala City. References checked out. That's about it. Diego frowned. Nothing about languages? Fluency in anything besides Spanish. Carla shook her head. No, the application only asked for English proficiency, and she marked basic. We don't require more for custodial roles. Diego leaned back in his chair. I heard her speaking 9 languages last night. Fluently. English, French, German, Portuguese, Italian, Russian, Mandarin, Arabic, and Spanish. Carla's eyes widened.
9?
Are you sure? Diego nodded. I know what I heard. I want to talk to her. Discreetly. That evening, Diego waited until Maria's shift began. He found her in the conference room, wiping down the long glass table. Maria, do you have a moment? He asked, keeping his tone casual. She looked up, startled, her dark eyes cautious. Of course, Mr. Morales. Is something wrong? Her English was accented but clear. Diego smiled. Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to ask, how many languages do you speak? Maria hesitated, her cloth pausing mid-swipe. A few, she said carefully. Which ones? Diego pressed, sensing her reluctance. She straightened, her expression guarded. Spanish, English, some French, a bit of German. Why do you ask? Diego decided to be direct. I overheard you last night on your break. You were speaking 9 languages, Maria.
9.
That's not something you see every day. I'm curious. How did you learn them? Maria's face tightened, and for a moment, Diego thought she might shut down. But then she sighed, her shoulders relaxing slightly. It's a long story, she said. I'm happy to tell you, but it's not something I talk about often. Over the next hour, Maria shared her story. She'd grown up in a small village in Guatemala, where her father, a teacher, instilled a love for learning. By 15, she taught herself English from books and radio broadcasts. In her 20s, she moved to Guatemala City, working as a translator for NGOs, picking up French and German while assisting with international aid projects. Her work took her to Brazil, where she learned Portuguese, and later to Italy for a short-term contract, where she mastered Italian. Russian came from a year spent with a Russian colleague who taught her in exchange for Spanish lessons. Mandarin and Arabic were harder, she admitted, learned through online courses and late-night study sessions after moving to the U.S. She'd always had a knack for languages, a memory that latched onto grammar and vocabulary like a puzzle. Why cleaning? Diego asked, unable to hide his confusion. With those skills, you could be doing anything. Maria's smile was bittersweet. I came to the U.S. for a better life, but my credentials didn't transfer. No degree, no connections, just a work visa. Cleaning was steady work, good hours. It let me study at night, help my family back home. I didn't mind it. She paused, then added, I applied for other jobs here, but no one called back. Diego felt a pang of guilt. Solteca's hiring process was rigorous, designed to filter for degrees and experience. Maria's resume, with its lack of formal education, would have been dismissed in seconds. He thanked her for sharing and promised to follow up. As she returned to her work, Diego's mind was already racing. He saw an opportunity, not just for Maria, but for Soltec. The next morning, Diego called a meeting with his leadership team, Carla from HR, Miguel from operations, and Sofia, the head of client relations. He recounted what he'd learned about Maria. We're sitting on untapped talent, he said. If Maria's skills slip through the cracks, who else are we overlooking? Miguel frowned. She's a cleaner, Diego. No offense, but we can't just promote her to a translator or something. There's protocol, qualifications. Sofia disagreed. If she's fluent in 9 languages, she's more qualified than half our client-facing team. We're pitching to clients in Germany and China next month. She could help. Diego proposed a plan: create a pilot program to identify hidden skills among employees, starting with Maria. He wanted her tested, not just for language proficiency, but for other skills she might have developed in her NGO work. Carla was skeptical, but agreed to arrange language assessments. If she's as good as you say, we'll figure out a role, she said. But we need to be fair to everyone. Over the next week, Maria underwent a series of tests. The results were staggering. She scored near-native fluency in all 9 languages, with advanced written and verbal skills. Beyond that, her NGO experience revealed project management skills, budgeting knowledge, and a knack for cross-cultural communication. Diego met with her again, this time with an offer, a new role as a multilingual client coordinator, working directly with Sofia's team to handle international accounts. The salary was triple her current pay, with benefits and training included. Maria was hesitant. I've never worked in an office like that, she said. I don't want to let anyone down. Diego reassured her. You've been running circles around our translators without even trying. We'll train you, support you. You're not just qualified, you're exceptional. After a day of consideration, Maria accepted. Her transition wasn't seamless. Some employees whispered about favoritism, wondering why a cleaner was suddenly sitting in client meetings. Diego addressed this head-on in an all-hands meeting. "Maria's story is a wake-up call," he said. "We've been hiring based on resumes, not potential. She speaks 9 languages, more than anyone in this room, and we almost missed her. That's on us. We're changing how we do things." Diego launched the Hidden Talent Initiative, a company-wide program to identify overlooked skills. Every employee, from interns to janitors, was invited to submit a skills inventory: languages, hobbies, side projects, anything they hadn't listed on their original application. The response was overwhelming. A receptionist revealed she'd built websites for friends, leading to a transfer to the web development team. A warehouse worker shared his experience managing logistics for a family business, earning him a role in operations. Even the IT team discovered a junior coder who taught himself machine learning in his spare time. Maria thrived in her new role. She handled calls with clients in Berlin, Sao Paulo, and Beijing, her fluency bridging gaps that had frustrated the team for months. Her insights into cultural nuances, like how to frame proposals for Chinese clients, won Soltech 2 major contracts in her first quarter. She mentored other employees, sharing study tips and resources for language learning. Her presence became a catalyst, inspiring others to step forward with their own hidden skills. But the changes weren't just about promotions. Diego overhauled Soltech's hiring process. Resumes were de-emphasized, replaced with skills-based assessments and interviews that prioritized potential over pedigree. He partnered with local community colleges to offer training programs, ensuring employees like Maria could gain certifications without quitting their jobs. The company's diversity grew, not just in backgrounds but in perspectives, as employees from all levels contributed ideas. A year later, Soltech was unrecognizable. Revenue had climbed 20%, driven by new international clients. Employee retention improved, with turnover dropping to its lowest in a decade. Maria was no longer the cleaner who spoke 9 languages. She was Maria Vargas, Senior Client Coordinator, leading a team of multilingual liaisons. At an annual company gala, Diego introduced her to a standing ovation. "Maria reminded us that talent doesn't always shout," he said. "Sometimes it's quiet, steady, and right under our noses. Let's keep listening." Maria's story spread beyond Soltech. A local business journal published a feature on her, titled "From Mop to Multilingual: How One Woman Changed a Company." Other firms began replicating the Hidden Talent Initiative, citing Soltech's success. Diego received emails from CEOs across the country, asking how to implement similar programs. He always credited Maria. "She didn't just change our office," he'd say. "She changed how we see people." Maria never forgot her roots. She still greeted the cleaning crew every evening, often in their native languages, sharing a laugh or a quick story. She started a scholarship fund for immigrant workers, helping them access education and job training. Her family in Guatemala received regular visits, and she proudly showed them photos of her new office. Not the one she cleaned, but the one where she worked, her desk covered in client files and language dictionaries. Diego, too, changed. He no longer assumed he knew his employees' stories. He made it a habit to linger in the break room, not for coffee but for conversations. He learned that talent wasn't just in degrees or resumes. It was in the people who showed up every day, doing the work others overlooked. Maria's 9 languages had been a spark, but the fire was the realization that every employee had something to offer, if only someone listened.